Good morning, everybody. This is Myni and Ðean. Welcome to our channel. And today we're going to get a little dicey because I want to start talking about the process of understanding where you're stuck. You see, for years, I was codependent, and I don't even know how to describe the feeling of insecurity, instability, everybody out to get me. It was one of those things where you seriously don't know whether you're coming or going. The whole world is against you. And where do you go from that moment, from that insecurity? Because I remember times of being almost suicidal. And I remember times of not fitting in and feeling like everybody was against me. And it takes a lot to climb out of that rut. So, what I'd like to do with you guys is start this series of digging out from the rut for inner hush, because inner hush means a divine silence, a peace, an understanding, a way of living that says that you can't hurt me anymore, and we mainly do all this to ourselves because no one can make us feel a certain way. We feel like they're making us feel that way. But inside, it's an internal conflict, a lie that we're believing. It's something that's construct from someone else's words that have nothing to do with us at all. It's their ugly behavior coming out. And we are personally destroying ourselves over what other people say and do. And it's going to be a struggle for me to teach this, but I know it's important. And I know that we need to start from the ground up. And I know what I had to go through. I've been climbing out of this for 16 years now, and it has not been easy. And it's like life skill classes and going all my education and everything, just studying and training on how to properly process the thought patterns of our mind. So when we can realize that we just need to slow down and take it one moment at a time, and that we don't need to be, I, I'm having trouble putting into words how it feels. Do you have words to explain how it feels to be that lost?
Um, yeah. Um, for myself, I think it comes from um just fracturing my core self, to function in a society that wants us to conform to what it wants us to be, you know?
Exactly.
And what ends up happening is that we end up losing ourselves over time and building, an ego self that's not even a part of us anymore, and you know how when
Mhm.
people say that, when you're stuck like crabs in a bucket trying to climb out while,
Right.
all the other crabs keep pulling you down. Well, sometimes I believe that, all the parts of our fractured self are like these clones of of us that's the ego, and those are the things that keeps pulling us down. So in
Hmm.
actuality, sometimes our subconscious pulls us down, and it's just like we use those we use those things as protection, you know, but then it also ends up hurting us at the same time.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. And what we think we need protection from, they're not doing it to us.
right.
We're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, we kind of need protection from ourselves.
And how do we start? What's the first step to learning how to process that thought when you're in the throes of that cycle?
I think probably realizing that um, getting from point A to point B, like knowing that we don't like where we're at, and then
Mhm.
getting to uh, point B, which is where we want to be, and
Right,
that realization is is the first step, because then you know something's wrong. Then you can own
right.
that.
Yeah, until we can own what we're doing, because
Yeah.
I'll give an example. I was about 28, 29 years old, and I was at a family event, and my stepmother corrected me on something, and I didn't feel I needed corrected. And it hurt me to no end. I grabbed my son. I went to my dad and I'm like, she said and she did. And I was furious, squealed out of the parking lot and everything, all over just a few words because I was
Right.
that damaged. And
Yeah.
I thought that my life had to be accounted for by somebody else. If I was doing something for someone else, then I was worthy. But to do it for
Right.
myself was an unworthy cause.
Right.
So when
Right.
people would say things to me or get in my face or start being, you know, a little rudish with me,
Yeah.
I would immediately jump into my feelings,
Yeah. Yeah.
and my feelings were incorrect. It was the lies everyone had been telling me for years that I was ugly, that I was stupid, well, not that I was stupid, I was too smart for my own good,
Yeah.
and that I drove people nuts and I was aggravating, and these are
Right.
things you hear your whole life. And
Right.
then you build up that I am annoying, I am this, I am
Right.
that, and I
Yeah.
want to start from there. What are
Yeah.
the lies you're telling yourself?
Um, well, for me, it's I mean, I totally resonate with what you're saying because I mean, I feel that I grew up the same way, with those, not the same like format, but like,
Right,
the same feelings. I would go into it going,
right.
you know what? Fuck everybody, because it was that's I would immediately get angry, and
Yes,
so I would either distance myself or be confrontational, you know, and
yes.
or both. Um, and so, you know, the thing about fixing it is basically it took me so many years to even just get to
Hmm.
this point, and I'm still
Scratch the
processing it.
surface. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just uh it's really difficult because you have to really know your values, you know, like
Yes.
know what you really stand for, And like
Hmm.
what you're saying earlier, I think we do know that like when we're very young, and that's the beauty of it. When we're very young, we know what we are, who we are at that point, because
Hmm.
that's why when people, come at us sideways, we're like, hey, wait a minute, man. Like what's
Right.
that? Like we are, yeah. And sometimes what happens is that we bring out the inner demons in other people because we,
Right.
and that's why, sometimes we're not liked because people get turned off by seeing themselves in the light that they actually fucking portray. And it's like,
Yes.
dude, you're you're fucking being an asshole, and
Yes.
and you don't know it, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
And that is so amazing to me that we don't know ourselves that much. We know other people's ins and outs and everything, but we don't know ourselves.
right,
And why? Why do
right,
we disdain ourselves and hate ourselves and look in the mirror going, ooh, my eyes, my teeth, my nose, my hair? Why do we do that to ourselves? We are a vessel on this
yeah,
earth to house a soul to live this life.
yeah,
And we spend so much of it in misery from what other people say and project. And it's not even from them. It's our perception of what they said. It's all inside of us, our misery.
right, right. And that's the
And I
thing. You're
really want to
right.
write a program.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah,
write a program from this point, how to
right.
pull out from this point.
I
And
think
it's going to
the
be hard to come up with that program.
well, I think the number one thing, like in this, in that respect, is stop seeking validation. You know,
That's a
um,
very good point.
because once we do that, then our whole sense of self is gone.
Mhm.
When, our whole sense of self gets better, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because when you
Well,
seek
let's talk
validation,
about how do we recognize that we're looking for validation?
um,
How are we noticing that we're trying to validate our self-worth? How do we know
well,
we're
once
doing
we
that? How do we catch ourselves so that we can correct it?
I think innate, we know that, it feels wrong to dislike ourselves, right? Because
Hmm.
when you start seeing yourself as being ugly or whatever, you have this
Right.
feeling like, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right? I think that's the trigger point of knowing, like, okay, so um at this point, how do I fix that part? And
Right.
and it's because of I think we see ourselves being ugly, like you said it earlier, because we're trying to seek validation, you
Hmm.
know? And when people tell us that we're ugly and shit like that, it's because they're not getting what they want from us.
Right. Right. And when we're talking about that point with the validation, why do we think that we need validation from others? What has programmed us to think that thought process of someone has to validate me or I'm not worthy? Where did we
Right.
come up with that precept?
I think it comes from, like when we were children, we are loving from the very
Yes.
beginning, and
Hmm.
so we expect people to love us back, you know, um,
Hmm.
and that's kind of that's the way love is supposed to work, really, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
but then when we're not conforming to the way they want us to conform and they're not, giving us the love that we think we deserve, then now we have a fracture in it, and it's just like it's now we
Hmm.
have a broken sense of like how things are supposed to work. So they seek their own way of, solving the problem, and then we try to find a way of fixing that, and it
Right.
becomes validation and the ego and all that shit,
Mhm.
you know?
So, do you think if we took more time to appreciate ourselves, that would show out in our relationships to others instead of trying to do everything to make that person happy?
Right.
Make yourself happy, and then that shows. Do you think that could be a construct?
Yeah, that's the best place to start.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah, I really think that 90% of the time we need to go to ourselves and ask ourselves, why is this bothering me? What
Right.
was exactly said, and how am I interpreting that to myself? Because if I can't get out of my own thoughts way, then how do I grow? How do
Right.
I get out of the cycle? Because 90% of it is a cycle,
Right.
a
Right.
repetitive cycle of, like people that say, if it can go wrong, it'll go wrong. and
Right.
people that say, the different sayings of, I can't even think of them. I used to use them all. But, when you're constantly talking the negative and constantly voiding yourself of any love, then you can't process those emotions.
Yeah. No,
I
you're
just had
right.
a thought. I just had a thought. Okay, so when you're really down on yourself and you're in a corner and you're about ready to bawl, life has been too much. You know,
Yeah.
what are some words that we could use to encourage people to start loving themselves from that point? Because that is one of the lowest points you can be in. And
Yeah.
so many people get there and they do crazy things. They seek drugs, they seek sex, they seek partying, they seek a million things to try to make sense of what's going on inside when it just all starts with validation of self.
Right. And that's what we're here for. I mean, it all starts with that inner hush, like you said,
Hmm.
because you
Yeah,
have to pause and look at what's on the table,
definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
you
Because
know.
if you're not looking into the situation you're in of ways to, how would I even say it, extract a different behavior, like
Yeah.
go outside of your norm. If you're constantly depressed and upset and the world's out to get you, to just take one day and go out of your norm and smile at someone, it's gonna feel awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once you start that smile, it can start with a smile. It can start with a hello to a stranger.
Right.
Something that takes you out of your normal gloom and doom,
Right. Right.
you know,
Right.
and sometimes you can't even pick your stuff up from there. You're so depressed you can't move.
Right. And I think
So,
also too being grateful um is a really huge factor in getting yourself out of that funk too. It seems
agree.
counterintuitive because you're down. Why would you want to
Right,
be grateful when you're fucking down, right? Um, but by recognizing that you are valuable and
right.
I think that could be a catalyst.
It could be. So what I'm working on is digging deep into these processes that we're speaking about today and seeing what that one step could be. It may be just as simple as actually getting out of bed and taking a shower.
Right.
That could be a highlight of someone's day because we get so bogged down with everything. And I know there's so many people who really need to hear this and really need to, start understanding from the ground up. And I just hope I can represent it the right way for everybody because it's a passion of mine to teach self love. Um, Many transformations is all about self love. And I just really wish I could put my finger on the beginning start
Yeah,
because we all start somewhere in the healing. But
true.
how do you teach that start button?
Well, I mean, also too, you're right. It's difficult because everybody comes from different angles
Yeah.
and backgrounds
Hmm.
and aspects of their life,
Yes.
and so I mean, and there is no, I don't think there's no one cookie cutter fucking experience that
Mm-mm.
you can, universally um share with people that'll get them out of the funk or whatever. Um,
But
but
bringing it to awareness in people's minds could help that, hey, we've all been in this funk,
yeah,
at some
yeah,
time or another, and there is a way out.
yeah, yeah. It's just but like what we were talking about earlier, is noticing your triggers and being in tune with your intuition and your feelings will really help to reveal um where you're at, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think yeah, like gratefulness too. A gratitude will tell you like um what you're actually happy for, or
I thank God for everything. A green
yeah,
light,
yeah,
being late. If I'm late, I'm like, whatever you just saved me from, thank you. Help
right,
me get to
right.
work safely. You have got to have that level of gratefulness for the little things. Like the other day, I had $40 for groceries because that's what I took with me that day. My bill come to 39.99.
What?
That was bad. I
Right.
and I thank him. I'm like,
Yeah,
thank you for letting me have enough to get exactly what I needed, you
exactly.
know.
Yeah,
And I think it does start from an attitude of gratefulness, because if you're not thankful for the things in your life, then how can you be thankful for yourself?
right, right.
And I'm not the best with self-esteem. I still have some issues that I'm working on, but
Yeah.
I know the facts and the figures, and I'm trained in all that. And I'm able to separate it in my mind from my conscious mind to my unconscious mind because I know hypnotherapy and all that. I'm able to sit here and do healing sessions inside my own mind while someone else watches TV.
Right. Right.
It took 16 years to be able to do that. So I don't want anyone giving up after a week of trying, saying, "Oh, it's too hard," because it takes time. If you want to truly get out of your funk, know, recognize, and love yourself, it takes a few minutes. So I
Uh,
don't want you getting discouraged.
I like what you just said about, you know, um, working through transformation by going inward with with self-hypnosis. That's pretty cool
Mhm.
because to me that sounds like it's very powerful because for one, sometimes our subconscious mind, likes to play tricks on us for you, because I mean it wants us to survive, yet it uses sometimes negative fucking um survival tactics that
Right.
actually fucking sabotage, self-sabotages us.
Yes, definitely. Yes,
Um
I did it.
and so what you're saying is, since you can go into that subconscious state, right? You can also
Hmm.
help yourself to uh, just change mindsets, and that's
Exactly.
very powerful because that
Yeah.
can that
And
can like manifest a different outcome.
oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe, like, I will be sitting here and I wish I could give you a scenario, but these horrible things that I went through in my life will flash before my eyes. And then all of a sudden, I'll get a realization. That's not the true me. That's a lie. That's
Yeah.
something someone used to bring me down,
Right.
and I don't live
Right.
there anymore.
Right.
So it'll still happen to you when you grow, but to grow is such a freedom. Have you realized how much freer you are without that negative voice in your head telling you so many lies every day?
Right. Yeah. Definitely. It took me a long time to recognize that voice, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and once I stopped agreeing with it, I started immediately seeing when it starts to come in, you know?
Yes.
So I
Yeah, there's
think
a realization,
so so once you know that you don't have to agree with those negative thoughts, I think that's the beginning of recognizing when it starts happening. Because now you're realizing, okay, well, where's this shit coming from? This, like,
right?
wait a minute, this doesn't align with like what, who I really am, you know?
Hmm.
So I think that's the crucial point right there.
Yeah, and then when you do have them thoughts where you're realizing your bad behavior, when
Yeah,
you do have those thoughts, I think it's very important to explore them for a few minutes
right.
and see where it goes because all of my aha moments, as soon as I get the lesson, they disappear. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent 30 years feeling like this over that.
Yeah,
It's simple as
yeah.
like my stepmom. We have had a tumultuous relationship,
Hmm.
but now I love her. And it had to change, not her. She's always going to be her.
Right,
But I took it backwards. I took it negative. I took it the wrong
right,
way.
right,
Everything she spoke out of her mouth was directly against me.
right,
And she
right.
wasn't doing none of it. I was doing it all right here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think it's very important that we start, like you said, to start realizing the triggers and to start really panning through our thought processes and making it at least agreeable inside while we're healing.
right, right,
Instead of a struggle, at least be able to agree with yourself that you are here for a reason and a purpose, and that there is no one like you in the entire universe. So you can't be judged by anybody or anything because we are all completely different. Even your brothers and sisters under the same roof are completely different than you because we were made to stand out. We weren't
right,
made to conform. So while we try to copy everybody and be like everybody, we're just selling ourselves out to our true authenticity.
right. Yeah. Um, yeah, you're right. I mean, I had that conversation with my mom the other day about recognizing our own perspective versus other people's perspective. And what ends up
Mhm.
happening is that people will do however they want to, express themselves, and we can always perceive whatever we want to perceive. And you're right about, recognizing how we perceive, because that's the only thing that we can control ourselves. We can't control them.
Exactly.
So, and that makes a big difference from a conversation that can seamlessly flow to a full-blown fucking confrontation of, you know what, fuck you, and here comes a hammer, bam,
Right. Right.
or something like that, right? So,
Yeah. Or a
yeah,
baseball bat to the cranium.
right, yeah, yeah. So,
But
yeah, hmm
yeah, I think we got a good start on recognizing where we're dropping the ball. And then on next week, I think I'm going to start talking about how to start noticing your self love. So you've been here with Minnie and Dean, and we are going to sign off today. But thank you so much for being part of our video.
Thank you.